Did you know that Black students are 13% more likely to graduate from high school and 19% more likely to enroll in college when they have just one Black teacher in elementary school? Or that only 7% of U.S. public school teachers are Black, while Black students make up 15% of the student population? According to the Education Trust, independent Black schools have historically outperformed public schools in fostering academic excellence, cultural identity, and community engagement. Education is liberation, but for too long, Black students have been taught in systems that were not designed for them. Research shows that Black students thrive when taught by Black educators. Higher graduation rates, stronger academic performance, and a deeper sense of self. The Black Teacher Collaborative is leading a movement to reclaim and redefine Black education. This conversation is part of that journey. Welcome to the Black Teacher Collaborative Salon Series, a space where we reimagine education, centering the genius, wonder, power, and beauty of Black children. Today, we share the liberatory vision of Ember Charter School.
So I'm honored to be here. I'm grateful that you've asked me to participate in this conversation. You know, at Ember, we say internally all the time that we're actually not really a school. Because if we think historically, right, school just happens to be the mechanism, right, for liberation. So when our people, like, how do we empower our young people in each other, right, to throw off these shackles of oppression and start to build an infrastructure of a prosperous and healthy life?
At BTC, we believe in Black teachers who hold an unwavering belief in Black children's humanity. This means nurturing both their agency and their healing.
We had to begin with two things. One, how do we nurture their agency so that they will forever be empowered by their own skill, their own mindset, to find their way through this wilderness of our world that branches off from that. The other thing that we needed to do, and this, I think this is something that as a Black person we know, we needed to empower them with a healing skill set. Generational poverty, racism, these are devitalizing, harmful conditions. And so if we try to move through the world without healing, we're going to move through the world in an incomplete way. And we will never be able to fully realize prosperity and actualize all we could give to each other into this world unless we learn to heal. And so we started building this structure, this coding of attributes, mindsets, and characteristics at the intersection of those two ideas, agency and healing. I know sometimes when I tell my story, I often begin with the economics and I say, I grew up in poverty, right? But it's so misleading. I grew up in economic poverty for sure, but I was wealthy in the history and culture of our people because I went to the Sister Claire Muhammad School in Philadelphia. Now, what the original Nation of Islam did, they answered this question: we want to prepare our young people to be free people. And so what they were more focused on, and what we do at Ember, is we look for attributes. We also ask them, what do you think about failure? Because in that exploration of failure, as they tell their story, many people want to show up like they're perfect. That somehow that means making a mistake, being messy and incomplete, any of those things that are necessary for the humanity, right, to develop, that somehow that input means you're a failure. And it crushes them. And so we want to look for people who've overcome and recognize in that overcoming that they're not finished, but they're going to be ever evolving.
That idea of being able to both model for our children the ability to try and experiment and to fail. Like our children have to have this space to fail and not always feel trapped in this, like, I gotta get it right, I gotta be perfect in order to get to wherever I'm going. But the ability to see teachers who have struggled and overcome challenges and moved through those and continue to persevere, because of course perseverance and fortitude is critical to our ability to move in this world.
So we use a couple of tools, and I'm going to apologize up front. This might sound a little hyper-technical, but we have 9 frameworks. And these frameworks inform not only how we teach, but what we seek to court. We also built for ourselves a rubric that defines the characteristics and attributes that we're looking to nurture in our young people. And so those things really lead the dance. We call that our leadership index. And so those are things like reflection, empathy, curiosity, integrity. And we built an entire set of skills in terms of how these attributes manifest from dormancy to development. And so that sits at the center of what we do. And what we use to draw those out, one, critical thinking. And I want to be really precise here. We really talk about critical in the design thinking process way. We want to empower our young people with an analysis. You need that to be able to examine your own mental, social, emotional, cognitive landscape. We court what we call neuropedagogy, which is really about the science of learning and development. And so starting in kindergarten, we start teaching our young people about how our brains and our bodies function. What does it mean to respond to our sensory environment? How is our environment working on us? And that includes the human beings in that particular environment. We focus on nurturing mindfulness. That's a primary tool for navigating these things, right? It is the number one therapeutic tool to respond to trauma. And so you will come and you will see one of the most important things that we attend to is the breath. This is an ancient, old practice that we teach over and over and over again, because mastery of that process means that you can master not your emotions, right? Our emotions are going to happen, but how we respond to our emotions. So we created something that we call economically relevant pedagogy, which means beginning in kindergarten at age 4, we start teaching our young people the fundamentals of economic theory.
Like, you feel it when you go into the school. It feels like a place where our children, where Black children, and Latino children, because you all have a significant portion of Latino children, but where children are being taught and equipped with what they need, not just to perform, but be far beyond that, but to really define how they will move in the world and to shape a world that will meet them where they need.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing I have to say, it requires courage because so much pressure is brought to bear on charter schools in particular, but school leaders writ large, to produce right now. And the production right now has to do with these test scores, right? So here's the courage I'm talking about. You have to have the courage to be longitudinal in a world that wants McDonald's-like instant success. And so that means you have to sit with the critique. Why isn't it happening faster? Why isn't it instant? Because from my vantage, nothing that is beautiful, great, or lasting is produced instantly.
Charter schools originally were designed to serve as, in many ways, sort of grounds of experimentation for ideas to be transferred into public schools. So one, there's the idea that like charter schools should be places of experimentation and and you can't create a culture of experimentation if you don't allow for, again, like failure or mistakes, all of those other kinds of things. Embers is not just a Black charter school. It is modeled on, again, the Black tradition. And that model, I would say, is while not new, is a model that has not benefited from the investment of innovation.
Well, here's what I would say. I think one of the things that is, I think, been true for the last 2+ decades since the charter movement has evolved is that you see what happens in the private sector, right? Quote unquote, innovation follows capital, right? When it should be that capital follows innovation. And initially, early on in a particular sector, that's what happens. Capital finds its way to innovation, and then capital starts to be the driver. But the truth is, we need to move away from this transactional approach, which is then aligned with these very simplistic assessments, to something that is more complex, intricate, and longitudinal. And that to me is the clarion call that we're making here. And when you invest in that kind of ecosystem, I think it will be very exciting, the kinds of returns that we'll be able to get. We've gotten our results with almost no philanthropic support. That means no innovation. We're doing it all off of our public funding. Now, you give me the kind of war chest that our KIPP, Success, and Uncommon Aspire peers have, and watch what we can do. And we will build out a methodology that other people can share and tap into. We need more people than Black people to do this work. We know that because we're going to have more than they're going to be proximate. They're most proximate to our kids. And I again, asset framing here. I believe that they want what we want, which are free, liberated, and empowered, and healed, healthy, whole people. And if they want that, then they will hear what we are saying here and recognize that our ancestors have been getting it right for centuries.
Join us as we reclaim, redefine, and reimagine education for Black children, building an ecosystem that fosters liberation, healing, and boundless potential. The future is ours to create.